a lot of your life has been that, I mean, you took the leap. Obviously it wasn't a huge leap to move from surfing to filmmaking, especially because your brother was already involved with it. But still,
Yeah,
it's a leap nonetheless, and it's one of those leaps where you have to be like,
definitely.
because a lot of people, I think, fear the reaction of others being like, who's this guy think he is? Like, why don't you just like, I've
Stick
been
to what,
working on being a filmmaker my whole life, and you're just going to step into it and start doing it.
right. Yes. No, I don't know if last time we talked about the first kind of real film I did was a body surf film. And it was like, oh man, there's not that many body surfers out there, especially then, like 10 years ago. Um, it was such a niche thing. But I was like, I don't care. I don't care if it resonates. I know there's a little niche here. Let's do it. And it's super nerve wracking. And to put all that work, like years of work probably into something, and then be worried about whether it's going to resonate. It's a you really just got to put yourself out there and go for it. And for me, that body surf film ended up being successful. And I actually didn't. I thought, maybe we'll get 30 people to show up at a surf shop and watch this body surfing film, because like body surfing is not that cool.
Right.
um it turned into a little monster, and tons of people loved it and came out to see it. And it was I remember the moment in time when I went and bought a new camera and was like, we're gonna do this. And my wife, Lauren, at the time, we didn't have kids yet, and she was like all in on it with me. Like, we did it together, definitely, and along with my brothers and all the other great people that kind of was lucky to be around, like the cinematographers that we'd known for years through surfing. A lot of those guys like Scott Sellens and Dave Holmesy jumped in on this project. But I remember the moment when I would just made the decision, like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. No turning back. And that it's, that's something that we all should strive for at some point, to like, uh, pull the trigger and go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, look, we all struggle with it. We all struggle with imposter syndrome. I think
Yeah.
most people do. I think you almost have to be a narcissist to not, you know,
Yes,
which,
absolutely.
like, I question the people that are just like, yeah, of course you should see what I have to offer. You're like, well, all right, I don't know about you, but
Yes.
nonetheless, like, you do, at some point you just have to get out of your own way. And,
Yeah.
and look, I fail at it all the time, but because I think really because doing the podcast, like, I just did it, like, I didn't have any experience. I kind of figured it all out and I just did it. And I just
Yeah.
immediately started releasing them, even though they probably shouldn't have, they weren't ready. And you just think, I don't know, I'll grow as I do it. And
Yes.
because I did it that way, and even because of what I do, as being a photographer and the show,
Yeah.
people will come to me and they're like, like, I've been wanting to do this. And so I have that same attitude now where I'm just like, well, why aren't you already doing it? Like, what's stopping you? Like, just
Yeah.
start doing it.
Like, it could spin off. Maybe that experience going for it didn't quite pan out the way you wanted it to, but it could spin off into something really amazing too. And yeah, and like, I feel like something I we all need to do is, you know mentally focus on it, and have that vision, and in your mind see it being successful, and really putting a lot of thought and energy into that vision. And then I feel like you have so much of a better shot of it coming to life. Yeah, I'm saying that out loud because that's at times I just
Yeah, you got to
think,
tell yourself that.
yeah,
Of course.
totally. Yeah, because it's hard to have the confidence sometimes. But you, like I said, got to pull the trigger and go for it. And in one way or another, good will come from it, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the same way, like, so much of this show is often me saying something that I need to hear. I'm like,
Right.
I need to live by this thing I'm saying right now, like I need to do better. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think, like you said, sometimes just by putting it out there and creating kind of this mantra of like, this is what I'm going to do. And it's all helpful. But at some point, the mistake I see the most is people, they do a lot of that. They talk about it a lot. And you're like, hey man, at some point you got to start putting one foot in front of the other and actually doing this thing. You've been
Yes.
telling me about this thing for 3 years, like why haven't you? And I think people just, they make that mistake of they're waiting for the perfect moment that probably will never come.
Right. Right. It's a tricky thing, because there's things in my life where I've definitely um, dedicated myself and pulled it off and went for it, and it's worked out. And then I have plenty of things in my life that I've had it in my head and wanted to do it, and it's not quite happened. So I can relate 100% on both sides of that story.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you think your history in professional surfing kind of set you up for that? I mean, there's so much to chase any kind of professional athleticism, to like devote yourself of like, I'm going to be a pro athlete.
Yes.
You were only setting yourself up for a certain amount of failures. There'll be plenty of successes, but like
Yes.
that road has to involve failures. And it just seems like it's a great training ground uh,
Yes.
for what you do now.
Um, yeah, without a doubt, that whole experience of being a surfer and at a young age striving for that goal of taking it as far as I could was a powerful lesson for me in my entire life. For one thing for sure, I realized about after going through that, it's like, yeah, I was so dedicated and and put so much time, effort, and thought into it, and it took a long time. It didn't happen overnight. So it was such a good learning lesson in life on like, yeah, man, if you want to get really good at something, you need to do it every day for 10 years. you know, and I mean, you don't have to take everything in your life that way, but like if you have something that you're that passionate about, it's going to be the sacrifices and the losses and the hardships over a long period of time that will get you to that goal. Very rarely does something just fall into your lap. A big goal is just going to take you time and effort and persistence. And so for sure that has been embedded in me through what I've experienced as being a professional surfer